Salvete discipuli. In this video, having learned about the Belgae and why they are so strong because they fight with the Germans, now Caesar is going to turn his attention toward a new tribe, the Helvetii, and they are going to end up being the casus belli that he needs to basically try to conquer all of Gaul. Okay, so picking up where we left off. Qua de Causa Helvetii quoque reliquos Gallos virtute praecedunt. Qua de Causa literally means concerning which cause. Remember that the preposition de means about most of the time. It can also mean down from if you're coming down from a mountain or something. It is very common when you have a preposition for an adjective or a relative to come first, then the preposition, then the noun itself. Okay, so what does concerning which cause actually mean? I mean, basically it means because of which. Okay, so Helvetii, the Helvetians, quoque also. What do they do? Praecedunt. Okay, now the English verb to precede is derived from this. Remember that if you want to find an English derivative, if you have the diphthong ae, pronounced in classical times as I, praecedunt, if you take away the a, that's when you arrive at a word that is probably our derivative. So to precede means to go in front of. And so in this sense, to surpass and be better than. They surpass reliquos Gallos, the rest of the Gauls, in virtue. Now, tied up in the Latin word virtute, it's not moral virtue, by the way. Okay, this is like basically they are stronger physically, mentally, emotionally. That's everything like that is tied up in virtute. Quod fere quotidianis proeliis cum Germanis contendunt. Because they contend. Now look at this, people. You learned this verb as a verb that means to hurry. And it can mean to hurry, but all along it also could mean to contend in the sense of like struggle with, okay? And that is why even back in like Latin 1, if anyone did write to contend on a vocabulary quiz, I never took off because they're not wrong. Because they contend, who do they contend with? Cum Germanis, with the Germans. What do they contend with the Germans in? They contend with them in almost daily battles. Fere is an adverb that means almost. We learned in book 1 the adverb paine, which means almost. But fere is a synonym. Quotidianis means daily. Okay, we do have the English word quotidian, which means like something that would happen daily. When a pharmacist, for instance, will have a prescription from the doctor, frequently it will say COT dot, and that is an abbreviation meaning this prescription is to be taken daily. Quotidianis. Proeliis, battles. Now, Germanis is ablative. Okay, your worksheet asks you to record the case of certain things. Germanis is ablative because the preposition cum takes ablative. Quotidianis and proeliis are also ablative. So remember, ablative appears with many important prepositions, but it can also appear by itself, and when it does appear by itself, hanging out in space, as I like to say, you can supply any of the prepositions that ordinarily go with ablative until you come to like the meaning that this sentence requires. So they contend with the Germans in almost daily battles. Cum aut suis finibus eius prohibent. Okay, we'll translate that much so far. Remember that cum means with. I mean, it meant with right back here. Okay, cum Germanis, with the Germans. But here, when you have cum before something that's not ablative, your go-to translation is when. Okay, so when. Okay, so out. Out means or, but when you have out followed by another out, you're going to translate it either or. Okay, so when they either prohibit them from their own borders, okay, so eos is them, it's the direct object of the verb, and here we have again, suis finibus, both of these words, suis and the ibus ending of a third declension. This is ablative. So this now, it's the sense of prohibiting them from their borders, okay? The preposition a or ab means from or away from. It takes ablative, and so from is also one of our possible translations. Out ipsi in eorum finibus bellum gerunt. Or they themselves wage war in their borders, okay? So ipsi, they themselves, okay? This is talking about the Helvetians again. Eorum is the genitive plural of the demonstrative is ea id, okay? And the in is actually going with finibus. It's very common when you have a genitive complement of a noun that you will like place it between the preposition and the noun itself. Okay, so in eorum finibus, in their borders, they wage war. Okay, so worth noting here, the word there as an adjective, suis finibus. And now we have it here again, their borders. What's the difference? This is the difference here, people. Suis implies that it is the same there as the subject of the main verb. Eorum, by contrast, is a different there, okay? So it's there meaning some people besides the main subject of the verb. Eorum una pars, quam gallos obtinere dictum est. One part of them, okay? And now we're going to be having what we call an impersonal construction here. Okay, so dictum est is going to mean literally just it is said, and this is going to trigger what we call an indirect statement. Okay, so it is said that someone did something. Okay, that's basically to get an idea of what's about to happen here in this sentence. One part of them, quam gallos obtinere dictum est. Now the sentence is not over, but let's understand what we've had so far. Which, it is said, the Gauls occupy. Okay, now we could have put it is said that the Gauls occupy. In English, we can say that to introduce an indirect statement. Latin does not have anything like that when you introduce an indirect statement. Simply, it has a verb that triggers the indirect statement, an accusative, which is the subject of the indirect statement, and infinitive, that's what we have here. The infinitive ends up being the verb of an indirect statement. And so this sense, obtinere has as its object quam, okay, so the which is referring to una pars. Initium capit a flumine Rodano. Okay, so we're talking geography here now again. Okay, initium capit takes its beginning. Okay, where does it take its beginning from? A flumine Rodano, from the Rhone River. Okay. Continetur garumna flumine, oceano finibus belgarum. Is bounded. Okay, so now this verb can mean to contain, is bounded, and don't forget the UR ending on a verb is what makes it passive. Okay, so continet could be it binds, continetur, it is bounded. Okay, what is it bounded by? Ablative, flumine, again, ablative hanging out in the middle of space. We can use the preposition by because ablative can say by. It is bounded by the Garumna River. What else is it bound by? Oceano. Okay, you wouldn't have needed me to even give you the dictionary form there. It's bounded by the ocean. What else is it bounded by? Finibus Belgarum, by the borders of the Belgae. Okay? Has Julius Caesar ever before said three things in a row without putting the word et between them? How about veni, vidi, vici, I came, I saw, I conquered? Attingit etiam ab sequanis et helvetiis flumen renum, vergit ad septentriones. It even touches, okay, etiam even. It even touches, what does it touch? It touches from, understood, the side of the Sequani and the Helvetians. Here's what it touches, by the way. The Rhine River, Flumen Rhenum. Isn't it amazing, by the way, to think that these river names, Rhodanum and Rhenum, still hold the same names that people gave them 2,000 years ago? Vergit ad septentriones. It turns to the seven oxen. That's right. This word septentriones means seven oxen. Now, trio is this archaic word for oxen. Septem with an M is ordinarily how you say seven, but it turns into an N because of the ease of pronunciation with the T. Septentriones, because the N is pronounced in the same place of your mouth as a T. So what are the seven oxen? What is Caesar saying here? Think for a moment. Is there something in the sky at night that there are seven of that you know is in the night sky? Seven. Okay, so what it turns out, the seven oxen are the seven stars of what you know as the Big Dipper. Okay, so for whatever reason, they called that constellation the seven oxen. So what Caesar really means here is the north. Okay, like he would say, it turns to the Big Dipper, and you know, oh yeah, that's in the northern sky. I guess he means it turns to the north.